Hey guys, welcome back to another magical movie review with me, Magic by Molly. I am super excited to keep on keeping on with the Harry Potter magical movie review. This week we'll be reviewing Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. So if you missed last week's episode, definitely go back to get kind of the foundation with Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone before we move on. And while you're over there, go ahead and subscribe to the page and turn on notifications so that you know when these episodes pop up. If you haven't done a magical movie review with me before, I break things down into 5 major sections. We've got the magical recap, where I try to bring you the fastest recap of the movie I possibly can. We also go through magical moments, which are things that I find enjoyable or entertaining about the movie, good things. And then we also have enchanting efforts, which are things that kind of leave question marks over my head or things that I thought just weren't so great about the movie. And then we will do a VMP, or a very magical person, the person that kind of wins the movie for me. And then we'll end it all with the movie rankings of that series thus far. So let's dive right in with a magical recap. Again, just trying to bring you the recap of the movie fast as I can. Also just recommend going and watching the movie if you haven't seen it yet, because it's fantastic. So here we go. Harry goes back to school and they have normal preteen drama of bullies, homework, and of course Quidditch. Harry gets detention but starts hearing shit in the walls. He follows it and finds Mrs. Norris petrified by the heir of Slytherin, who has opened the Chamber of Secrets. Harry finds Tom Riddle's diary in Moaning Myrtle's toilet that speaks to him and basically tells him that Hagrid did the same thing 50 years ago. This keeps happening, and then finally Hermione gets petrified, so Harry and Ron are basically fucked. They finally figure out it wasn't Hagrid and that Moaning Myrtle was the Muggle-born that died 50 years ago. They put 2 and 2 together and figure out that the opening is in her bathroom. Harry and Ron go down the tube and find Ginny was basically being tranced by this diary, doing all these naughty things. And it turns out Tom Riddle is Voldemort. Harry fights a big-ass snake, stabs the book, defies death yet again, and they're all good until next year. First off, the whole beginning of the movie with Dobby showing up at Harry's house, kind of causing trouble. I love Dobby, clearly. He is so cute. He is defying the law or the tradition of his own people to protect Harry Potter, who is a person that he's never met before. He just knows the importance of what he's doing. So that, I love Dobby. I love the introduction of Dobby. He's definitely one of my favorite characters. I will say the escape scene when Fred, George, and Ron are breaking Harry out of his room and like pulling the bars off of the window with the Ford Anglia had me fucking hype as a kid. Like, I thought that that was the coolest thing, and I was like, that's how I'm gonna get out of my room if I'm ever barred in. Thankfully that didn't happen, but I had an escape plan. Kind of talking about that particular scene, something that stood out to me about this movie, I know it was an enchanting effort for Sorcerer's Stone. The CGI, the graphics that they're using is getting a little bit better, and I think it's because they're using more practical effects in combination with the CGI that they're doing. So even the car scene of them ripping the bars off the window seems a little bit less ridiculous than, let's say, the Quidditch scene that they were playing in Sorcerer's Stone. Which, to add to that, the Quidditch scene in Chamber of Secrets visually is so much better than the Quidditch scene from Sorcerer's Stone. So I will give them that. We're definitely making strides in technology. We're making strides in strategy of how they're using that technology. I think one thing that the kind of reflecting back as a fault of Sorcerer's Stone is that, okay, we have all this technology to make things computer generated, to kind of have to take the hard work out of the filming part. Let's just use all of it that we can. And I think it did them a disservice. Whereas now, they're probably using even more green screen stuff, and like when they're actually playing the game, it's not like a video game that I'm watching. It's like real people flying on sticks and scoring goals. I think it's great. I also really enjoyed the magic that was Harry showing up to the Burrow for the first time. We got to see Molly Weasley and Sorcerer's Stone in the introduction of like Harry to the platform, and she told him how to get through and everything, but this was our first like real interaction with her to actually see her character, and I think she's just so, she's such a mom, but like in the best ways possible. She scolds the boys, like she's super nice to Ginny, like she wants the dad to get mad at the same things she's getting mad at, but that's not happening. So I just think all of that is just absolutely magical, and the way that they film it with Harry and just being plugged into an environment where like he walks in and there's already so much love there, and Ron comes up and he's like, yeah, it isn't much, but it's home. And I'm like, that's more of a home to Harry than anything has ever been before, maybe other than Hogwarts. But I just think it was so sweet, and like it kind of reminds me of how we can take advantage of the things that are comfort to us. We're taking those for granted. People like Harry who've never experienced that kind of love or that level of comfort before, it's like that in itself is a magic moment, just walking into the house. I also really enjoyed the flu powder scene, the diagonally. That just cracks me up every time, but I really, oddly enough, enjoy kind of the introduction of Nocturne Alley when he accidentally gets plopped into that part of Diagon Alley. I think it really puts into perspective for Harry that, like, yes, there were dark arts before, but his first year was with Professor Quirrell and they didn't actually like do a whole lot of learning. But it really puts into perspective that there is an entire culture of dark magic and like a physical representation of that. And then Hagrid just booming through and rescuing him was also just really, really great for me to watch. Then of course we kind of like have some regular magical moments. The whole movie is magical. The Flourish and Blot scene, while so good, nothing in that scene really like stood out to me other than, and this has been said in multiple forums and other Harry Potter fans that I talked to, when Draco is standing on the stairs of Flourish and Blots, he like rips a page out of a book and like kind of stuffs it into his pocket. Then a piece of paper is crumbled up in Hermione's like petrified hand that like gives them all the clues that they need. And then they get to the end where Hermione says, I can't believe you figured it out. But she doesn't say, I can't believe you found my clue or figured like there's no indication that she was the one that found the piece of paper. Like maybe Draco put it in her hand, like maybe low-key he's trying to help him out. Like I think that that's a fan theory. I don't think that that's true, but it's still interesting, especially now having seen the movie many, many times, kind of trying to put those pieces together to see if that's a viable thing is kind of fun for me. The Growler with Molly Weasley yelling at Ron for taking the car, hilarious. I am laughing every time I watch it, but at the same time, I've also been in a situation where I feel like my mom is fussing at me in front of my friends, or I'm getting in trouble in front of my friends. And so like I'm also like the empath in me also gets nervous every single time, like understanding how uncomfortable he is with all of this going on. I think Rupert Grint as an actor is fantastic for Ron Weasley for many, many reasons. He's, one, got the look, like he's the perfect Ron just looking at him, but also his facial expressions and the sounds and the squeaks and like his mannerisms are perfect. That is proven incredibly true in the eat slugs scene when Draco calls Hermione a mudblood, and then Ron takes out his broken wand and says eat slugs. When he says eat slugs, the actual eat slugs part, I'm like, I feel like you could put a little bit more emotion into that. But when Ron starts throwing up the slugs, Rupert Grint's face is absolutely hysterical. He is perfect in that scene. Like, you can really feel the disgust all the way through, like even when they're sitting in Hagrid's hut and he's just like having to get it all out. Every time I watch that scene, I'm like, oh my god, he's perfect. He does that so perfectly. I don't think anybody else in that movie could have done that as well as he could have. Or as well as he did, rather. I will say though, kind of going back to the whole like Hermione having the page out of the book about the basilisk. Let's say that the whole Draco giving her the piece of paper thing isn't in play here. Like, she's petrified and Hermione, and she's still helping out Harry and Ron. They're literally lost without her. Like, they would not have figured it out. Also, the fact that she knew right away reading the page that says, okay, I need to find a mirror or have something where I'm not going to be able to look this thing in the eye and be able to like see around corners. Like, she is so incredibly smart and intuitive, and like Harry and Ron probably wouldn't have thought to do that because they're kind of dinguses if you really think about it. And then honestly, I didn't write down another magical moment until the very end. The whole last scene with Dumbledore, Lucius Malfoy, Harry Potter talking about what happened is such an incredibly well acted scene, especially for a kids movie, even between Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets. That's really solidified when Lucius Malfoy says, well, let's hope Mr. Harry Potter is around to save the day. Harry Potter says, don't worry, I will be, is an improv line from Daniel Radcliffe, which I think just speaks volumes of how talented he is at such a young age. Every time sends chills up my spine with the lighting and the mood, and literally the way that they act that scene is just really, really good. I really enjoy that scene. But then we get into the hallway where Harry has the idea to take Tom Riddle's diary and hand it back to him because he figures out, hey, fucker, you were the one that put this in Jenny's cauldron and Flourish and Blotts in the first place, so I know you're behind it. And having Dobby as your house elf is kind of a clue that you're a bad guy. He hands Dobby the diary, or basically throws it at him. Dobby opens it and there's the sock, which is my favorite shirt that I've ever owned. And then he goes, Master has presented Dobby with a sock. Dobby is free! And that is the best feel-good line out of all the movies. Like, I'm hype as fuck. Dobby's free. You can go suck it. But that being my last magical moment, like, really packs a punch with how powerful. Just that whole sequence to me is the best one, a magical moment throughout the whole movie. I think one of the biggest enchanting efforts is like just the fact that there weren't very many magical moments about the main plot of the movie, I think is an enchanting effort all on its own. All of the things, even the things that we didn't talk about here just for time-saving purposes, they're all like really little side things that happen, or the CGI, or the moment with Dobby. Like, those aren't really that integral to the story itself. I don't know, I wasn't super into it. It's hard for me not to talk about enchanting efforts when it comes from like the book to the movie, and that's something that I definitely tried to stay away from with movie number one, but I have to say it because it's another really big reason why this movie kind of falls short for me, is because they just kind of put Jenny in where she's supposed to be, you know, like, okay, stay in here, and oh, by the way, you're gonna play a big role at the end. She has such a huge part of Chamber of Secrets, and we hardly see her in the entire movie, and she is one of the most important characters. And this is really where the foundation of her relationship with Harry is built at all, like throughout the rest of the books. Like, this is where it's really starting. That whole character relationship development just isn't there within the movie. So I'm just gonna throw that in there. We won't talk about that a whole lot more, but that is disappointing to me from the movie adaptation. And we could, and the reason why I don't like to talk about what falls short from the book adaptation portion of the movie is we would be here for forever. Another big enchanting effort, when they're in Mrs. Sprout's class, or Professor Sprout's class, which I did write down as a magical moment, but it wasn't a big enough magical moment compared to the rest of them. She clearly says, like, these are baby mandrakes, like, hearing their cry isn't gonna kill you like an adult mandrake would, but you might pass out. Like, it might render you unconscious for a little while. Neville passes out, and she goes, oh, he must have not used his earmuffs properly, or whatever she says. I can't remember off the top of my head. I didn't write that part down. Seamus Finnegan goes, no, he just fainted. Well, yeah, that's the side effect of not using your earmuffs properly around baby mandrakes. She just said that you might get knocked unconscious. I think that was supposed to be like a humorous scene, and it didn't really make sense to me because, no, he just fainted. Well, yeah, that's what happens when you're around baby mandrakes and you don't have your earmuffs on properly. I don't know. That just was stupid to me. I didn't really understand that, and maybe I'm totally missing the point. So if I am, drop me a comment. The other big enchanting effort for me, when Hermione makes the Polyjuice potion, and they're getting ready to change themselves into the Slytherin students, she makes the cupcakes with the sleeping draught in them, and Harry and Ron are responsible for getting Crabbe and Goyle to eat them so that they can be them. It might just be me overthinking it, and maybe Crabbe and Goyle are just that stupid, but I can't imagine that the best way to trick them into doing that was to wait until they walk out and have just two floating cupcakes in the air. Are they just that dumb to just not realize, hey, I shouldn't eat floating food where there's no other floating food and other people aren't eating? Maybe they are just that dumb. I don't know. That scene to me isn't believable in the movie, where, like, one, I think maybe it was just an opportunity for Harry to tell Ron to not use his wand again. Like, maybe they're just kind of trying to keep playing into that. I don't know. That one didn't land well with me. Like, is it funny? Is it playing into how stupid they are? Because they are dumb. Like, straight up dum-dums. I mean, even dumb people have a little bit of common sense every once in a while, right? Maybe not. Maybe I'm giving them too much credit. I don't know. I like to believe the best in people. I'd say the rest of the movie, just another enchanting effort, I guess, is just, it's kind of humdrum. Maybe it is because the movie, while not exciting in itself, the plot in itself is not too terribly exciting. It is laying groundwork for stories later on. Okay, I get it, but, like, make it a little bit exciting. While the book isn't my favorite, I still really enjoyed the book. Whereas Chamber of Secrets, I'm just like, I like the movie. I could watch it, but it's not my go-to of any of the Harry Potter movies. The only other enchanting effort, and it's more of just like, ew. Harry's in the Chamber of Secrets. He finds Ginny, meets Tom Riddle in person this time, and they're talking about how Tom Riddle got Ginny to do all this stuff for him. All he says is, I can be very persuasive. And I'm like, ew, you sound like a predator. You basically are, but, like, ew, get out of here. First of all, you're like 16 and she's like 11, so you're nasty. I don't know how you persuaded her, but that's gross. The other part of it is, like, he put her in a trance, and, like, there's just only so much she could probably have done about that. I just didn't like it. It was just super gross to me. I was just like, blah, 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 blah. Ew, gross, get out of here. Poor Ginny. I just don't think she acted very well in the last scene, and it's because she's a kid. Like, you can only do so well. Tom Riddle dies. Harry stabs the book with the basilisk fang, and Ginny, like, all of a sudden opens her eyes, and she goes, Harry, it was me. Well, no shit, we're in the Chamber of Secrets, and you're basically drenched in, like, basilisk juice and sewer water. Like, who else was it gonna be? Like, the deed is done. We know it was you. You don't really have to admit it at this point. But good for you for admitting it. Alright, so those are my enchanting efforts. I mean, really, to me, the whole movie is an enchanting effort. Bless its heart. It's good. It's cute. It's a cute movie. I'm not going to be mad at it if it's on. If I'm scrolling the channels and Chamber of Secrets is on, I'm probably going to stop and watch it because I just love Harry Potter and I've committed myself to the culture that is Harry Potter. Clearly, I've dedicated an entire room in my house to it. I would say VMP for me. I actually juggled between Hermione and Dumbledore. Dumbledore, I feel like, plays a bigger role in this movie and introduces us to Fawkes the Phoenix and believes Harry isn't the heir of Slytherin. I think I'm gonna go with Hermione because, one, she's literally, like, saving the day, even unconscious. She's the reason why they figure out everything every time anyway. So she probably will be a very common VMP for me. The only thing that I think kept me from choosing Dumbledore as the VMP was, like, clearly Dumbledore straight up asks Harry, like, is there something you want to tell me? / I know it wasn't you. Like, I know you're not behind all of this stuff. He doesn't really, like, do anything to help Harry out. Like, Harry's getting, like, bullied in school, and you're not really doing anything about it. Like, make a PSA and say, hey, yo, by the way, Harry's not the heir of Slytherin. Have a nice one. I feel like that speaks volumes. Bullying in school, even nowadays, when people in power don't really do anything about it. So maybe that was purposeful. I'm, of course, ranking these in chronological order and in the order that I like them. So I'm going with Sorcerer's Stone as my top pick, and then Chamber of Secrets as number 2. I will say, before I let everybody go, I think this is a great movie, and maybe this should have been a magical moment, and now I'm just realizing this as a reflection, but I think this movie is incredibly important to let young people watch. Whether you believe in magic or not, whether you want your kids to be, like, susceptible to the dark magic, whatever. I think watching this movie really puts into perspective what, like, classism, racism, sexism is. Choosing who your friends are, who you're gonna hang out with. Literally thinking people should die because they are born a certain way is really put into perspective here. It's showing kids that the people that think like that are the bad guy. They're not gonna win. They are the lesser of the people in the movie, not the Muggle-borns, not the Mudbloods. I think showing young children this movie is so important because it puts very real issues that are going on today into a fictional world. And watching it happen as an outsider can really help you develop your ideas on what's right and wrong in this particular situation when it doesn't apply to you. And then can easily be translated back into your real life. Like, you can learn the social skills of how you should be treating people in one world, and it applies to every other world that you're in, real or not, afterward. I will give this movie this credit of, I think it really shines a light on really just the fact that people are treating each other terribly because of how they came into their magical power. I feel like this movie can really be a teaching tool for a lot of social issues. And so any parents out there, take that into consideration if you're considering letting your kids watch this, and what age you want them to watch it. Because I think that that's all of my friends that are Harry Potter fans want their kids to be Harry Potter fans too, or want to introduce them, and it's all about when do I start that. So I think that this can be a factor that plays into your decision of letting your kids watch those movies or when you want them to watch those movies. Thanks you guys for hanging out with me. I hope you have a wonderful magical week. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and to head on over to Instagram and follow me at MagicXMolly. Drop any of your thoughts about Chamber of Secrets down in the comments below so we can chat about it. And definitely, if you can, watch Prisoner of Azkaban before next week's magical movie review.